Good evening, good people. This is your host, Calvin Anderson, with the Check In With podcast. Today, we have another exceptional guest. This person, we recently just connected on LinkedIn. And, you know, I just said to him, hey, bro, would you like to come into the podcast? And he willingly said yes. So he's a psychotherapist that manages the counselling team at Leeds Beckett University. As well as works in private practice, he's an accredited member of the British Association for Counselling and Psychotherapy, as well as an ordinary member of the Society of Dialectical Behaviour Therapy. He has completed his master's in psychology, where he did a study on the social dynamic factors that affect men's engagement with mental health services at university. Ladies and gentlemen, give a warm welcome to Olumide Ajulo.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
How are you doing, sir? How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's nice to meet you and I'm looking forward to this conversation. I love talking with other therapists, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Me too. Me too. Let's start off with Ollie, what's the training or what was your training like becoming a therapist? Can you navigate us through that from the beginning, the process in between to where you are now?
So I started training. I did a postgrad diploma in counselling and psychotherapy.
Yeah.
I worked in finance for over 10 years prior to that.
Yeah.
And then I left that. I was a chaplain for 3 years. And during that time, I would work with people in a nursing home, but was really interested in psychological aspects. And I thought, right, I want to be trained properly in it. So I went to study at university again.
Yeah.
So did that, did the course, completed that. And I completed it during COVID. So I was just completing as COVID hit. So that was a really interesting time because the training changed over. I saw the pre and post. That was really interesting.
Yeah.
And then I went immediately into working for a college as a therapist. And I really enjoyed that because I didn't want to work privately. I wanted to find out what my personal voice was and wanted to have an opportunity to work in a place where I got to see a lot of different people, a lot of different presentations, and a lot of different mental health issues going on for people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I did that for a couple of years, and in the midst of that, I started private practice, and then I moved on from that and took over managing the team at Leeds Beckett University, and I've been doing that ever since. And yeah, I really love it.
Wow, such a transition from starting to now being the lead for a university.
Yeah.
There's two things that you said in what you mentioned in terms of your training, which I want to say thank you for sharing, by the way, where you said you was completing your training during the COVID period.
Yeah.
Now, I need to know because it's so interesting that you say that because I completed my degree in COVID also. So I want to hear from someone else who went through their process and their journey. How did you manage to, I guess, from going into a place where you're going in every day, you're seeing your lecturers, you're sitting behind the desk, you're getting all the information, to now everything has become online. Everything has become, I don't want to say less resourceful, but in some ways you had to draw upon different elements now because everyone wasn't as accessible as they were before.
No.
So walk me through that process, please, Ollie.
Well, I was right at the end. So I only did it for a couple of months.
Yeah.
Because I was due to graduate.
Yeah.
I think what was challenging for me is I was on track to finish my hours,
Yeah.
and then everything stopped.
Yeah.
And so I became quite resourceful. So I had 2 placements at the time. One of the placements said I could carry on. The other placement
Yeah.
put a stop, basically because no one knew what to do,
Of course.
on. And so they said, right, only qualified therapists. We only want qualified therapists working with our clients because it's all online. And if you're not qualified, so even though I'd pretty much finished my training, I'd only done I was nearly finished with my hours.
Yeah.
So I found another placement during lockdown and got my hours in. So I, it was quite a resourceful time.
Yeah.
I think it was strange because I had the last few lectures online and everything happened very quickly. It was 1 week we're in, next week you're online. And it was that time when no one knew what to do, no one knew how to use Zoom.
Yeah.
Everything was new. So people's faces were in the screen. There was no understanding of on-camera etiquette. So it was a very strange time. But I think it confirmed for me that this is what I really wanted to do because I became quite resourceful, and I became quite confident. Because I'd done the hours, I literally went, look, I'm pretty much graduated. I've done this number of hours, and I just started because I was like, I'm gonna complete this thing, and nothing's getting in my way. Um, and I think it also helped me. I had something to focus on, and then when I'd completed, I was like, right, I had something else to focus on. I need to get a job. Um, and then I got a job, and it was during lockdown, so I worked online for. I didn't meet my colleagues for 6, 7 months. And I'm quite a tall man, so when they met me, they were like, "Whoa!" Because obviously you're used to that. Yes, that was my experience. I think if I had been in the middle or the start, it probably would have been a different experience. But I was so close to the end, I was like, nothing's getting in my way to finishing this. I've come this far. So that was my experience during lockdown.
Resilience at its finest.
I think it also helps I had personal therapy and we'd worked through some really powerful stuff for me. So it kind of was a bit of a springboard.
Yeah.
And lots of good things had happened because I was like, oh, I know what I'm feeling and I understand what I'm feeling. I'm feeling anxious because I'm worried about failing. But actually anything that's gonna stop cause me to fail is by giving up. So I understood what was happening in me, so which helped.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Before I go into the second question with you, Ollie, speak on that for I guess therapists who are coming up, therapists that are on the journey beginning. How important is it to have your own therapist?
For me,
Yes.
it was single-handedly one of the most powerful experiences for me. Um, so my therapist is a black man. So, and he asked me questions that I'm nearly 42 now, but at the time I was mid 30s, that I'd never been asked before. And so because I'd never been asked those questions, I'd never wrestled with the questions in terms of my experience of being black as a child so there was lots of things that I'd never considered before.
Mm.
And also what he was really good at and something I'm really keen on is what is my responsibility? So where have I been complicit in some of my challenges? Um, And I'm really big on that. Really big on where am I complicit? And when working with clients in a safe relational way, uh, bringing those gentle challenges in when it's appropriate of where are we complicit in our own challenges? And I found that really powerful. And I think the combination of that is what built resilience and what built uh, passion for the work as well as robustness because it's not an easy job
No.
that we do. Um, we work with people in the midst of their difficulties. We can experience rejection if we start with a client and they don't want to see us anymore, or if there's a rupture in the room. How do you navigate that? And we're not robots, we're humans. We have stuff.
Yeah.
So how do I notice that, manage it, and make sure it doesn't become part of my client's story? that I'm able to separate that. And I'm not perfect. I've definitely made mistakes, but it's about just be constantly being a student and a learner.
Mm. Powerful, powerful. I love how you spoke on one, being a student and a learner and remaining that throughout the process.
Yeah.
Two, getting to a place where you can implement those general challenges with clients and making sure that our stuff doesn't leak out onto the client for it to be their story.
Yeah.
So in everything that you just mentioned, there's safeguarding, there's, protection, there's, making sure that everything we do is by the book,
Yeah.
and by the framework in which we work by.
Yeah.
So no, thank you so much for sharing that, Ollie. Um, because you spoke just now in terms of what therapy is to you and the stuff that you had that made you want to continue and didn't kept you from giving up. I want to
Mm.
ask you now for the second question. What challenges have you faced since starting your journey as a therapist?
I think the first challenge was uh, finding that first job. So I finished and when I trained, most people wanted to go to private practice and I just didn't. Part of that, I'd worked in finance for a long time, and I'd done various jobs, and I, I just wanted to go to my job, do my job, and leave because but I'd done so many different things. I just wanted some stability in my life to be able to focus solely on developing as a therapist, as well as just rest from study, from everything that was going on. So it was applying and applying and applying. And counseling and psychotherapy jobs are not, there aren't loads of them out there. So I had to be quite disciplined and quite persistent and really look. And I was really blessed to find one. And it was a great experience. So but the looking for the job was a challenge. Two other challenges. One other challenge was at various points meeting with frustration and working through what the frustration is. So I've got a number of people I do peer supervision with as well as clinical supervision.
Yeah.
And I have one person I've done peer supervision with since we finished training together.
Yeah.
And we would hit frustration points together. So I'd be frustrated about something at work. And once I sat down and talked it out, I realized I was at a point where I needed to look for a new job. Nothing to do with the job. It was like, oh, actually, the job's reached the point where I'm not growing in it anymore, or the point where I just need to go for accreditation now. So there's various points where it's like, why am I doing this role? What's going on in me? And really sort of sitting in the uncomfortable tension of choosing a career that has its challenges because of the nature of it. And then I would say the third challenge is how do I keep growing as a therapist? The qualification I believe is the beginning. And when we're let loose on working in the general public, we have all these ideas of what things we can and can't work with, what our passions are. And as I've worked in the field, I knew that I wanted to increase my training. Some of the challenges were, what does it look like for me to increase my training in a way that's authentic to me and a way that sits well with me? So as I said, I've just completed my psychology masters because I want to go down a counseling psychology route. And that's because of the types of clients and patients that I want to work with, as well as I want to do things well. And for me, and this is not saying anything about what anyone else wants to do,
Of course.
but for me, I just connected to it. When I would read about it and listen to counseling psychologists and sort of look at the work that they do and the types of clients and patients they work with, I was like, that's what I'm passionate about, really supporting people as they see change when they've been in quite severe situations, experiencing acute and chronic mental health challenges.
Firstly, I just commend you on the willingness to continue to learn because you want to be better at what you do. You want to learn, you want to gain the skills in order to help these individuals that you're speaking on. And I think it's so key that you found the area in which you want to work in. Like it resonated with you highly. The same way you said when you was at the job, you said, okay, I need to leave now because the growth that I'm wanting is not going to happen further than this point now.
Yeah.
So I love that you've just continued, and I know you're continuing to just expand your mind. And it goes back to what you said in the beginning about being a student and a learner and always remaining teachable.
Yeah.
Because in the work that we do in our field, there's so much to learn. It literally never,
It never stops.
it never stops. So I'm so glad to hear that you, even through the challenges, for you were like, okay, what am I going to learn from this challenge? And how am I going to better myself? And how I'm going to take everything that I'm doing to the next level. There were so many key things you said in there. I think the one question I'm going to ask you is, why are so many people, Ollie, quick to start private practice?
I think
Yeah.
so. I think there's a number of reasons. I think one, the jobs aren't out there. And that's a whole other conversation by then.
Really.
Um, Two, I don't know about you, but there's something about getting that qualification and it's just I can practice. Because when you're trying to get your hours, and every time someone misses, you're like, oh,
I'm right there.
I'm right there. And so there's just an excitement. When I saw some of my colleagues and peers really excited about getting out there, there's a certain freedom of working in private practice. Um,
Definitely.
and so it's an attractive thing. And I also think it gives people autonomy as well in how they work. A lot of the time, most people who go into therapy, who train as therapists, they've had a career before.
Right.
And so they're like, I want to be able to work for myself and work how I want to work. So I think there's a number of reasons. I know for me, I didn't feel like my voice had developed yet. And it, also I was tired.
Mm.
Like I'm doing essays, I'm doing placement, it feels like I'm hustling a bit. And it's not a cheap endeavor and it's not an easy endeavor. And so getting to the end, I knew that I just wanted as much simplicity as I could have. Uh, so, but I think there's two sides to it.
Yeah.
I think there's something so important about working with different people. And in private practice, you get what you get. I tend to get not similar clients in terms of sort of what's going on, but if you read my profile,
Yeah.
you either like it or you don't. So my profiles, I've got something on Psychology Today. I'm very to the point. And so some people are going to go, absolutely not, that's not for me. And some people are going to be attracted to that.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to get the same type of people who are attracted to that. Whereas when I'm working in an institution, you get who you get. And so if you're working in a relational way, how do I build a relationship with someone cold turkey? Whereas someone's read my profile, they've had a consultation call with me, and you're already building a rapport. And so there's people I've worked with that would have never chosen me as a therapist. And so it's given me lots of different experiences.
Ollie, you said something I don't think I've ever heard before when you said the attractiveness of private practice and as therapists having our own autonomy to work for ourselves.
Yeah.
And you also said the counseling / psychotherapy jobs, they're just not out there.
And the ones that are out there, you have to be accredited, or if you're not accredited, some of the pay is not,
Mm.
the pay, there's lots of things you could talk about, or you're having to work for free.
Yeah.
And so I think some of the attractors, you get to work the hours you want to work. You get to choose who you do and don't work with. So a lot of my peers went into private practice and they're excelling and they're doing wonderful work. And also they get to choose their own hours.
Yeah.
So actually, to go into private practice means you're starting to earn, you're starting to work, you're starting to do the work that you trained in.
Mm.
Whereas to go in into an institution, there's other people, going for those roles. So that's a challenge. I think depending on what training course you've done,
Mhm.
so depending on who your governing body is,
Yeah.
determines some of the jobs that are available. And also, a lot of places insist on accreditation.
They do.
So if you've done a BACP course and you've done your 100 hours, so you're registered, but a lot of jobs, the job I'm in now, I have to be accredited to do my role.
Right.
And because I worked at the Leeds City College,
Yeah.
so I got my hours quite quickly.
Yeah.
And therefore, certain doors opened for me where I could apply for different roles. That's really difficult from the jump. I made certain decisions, and so I don't want to downplay the choices that I've made and the sacrifices I made in order to be able to have journeyed the path that I've journeyed.
Yeah.
Um, but I also have a supportive wife who held things down as I was training, so there's certain privileges I've had and I've made certain sacrifices.
Yeah.
It's really difficult when you're like, I need to start earning money because I've been training all these years, paying for therapy, getting to placement and working for free. Private practice, I'm getting money now. And I'm not saying that's the only reason, but it's one of the reasons, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ollie, speak to me on, before we go into the next question, speak to me on having a strong support system when we're training as therapists to go into our career.
It is so important. It is so important to have some people or a person that is in agreement with the vision that you have, because I don't know many courses that are as expensive and hidden expenses as counseling and psychotherapy,
Yes.
and also so many different courses that you can do,
Yeah.
and you come out with different things.
Yeah.
So it's, and on the course that I did, some people started, not everyone finished together,
Yeah.
because it's a marathon.
It's,
You've got to keep going, um, and figuring out your voice. And I did an integrative course, so we got bits of everything. And then when I finished, even the support doesn't stop when you finish, because it's a case of, right, where am I going with this?
yeah.
What I want to do further training. I did a specific DBT um, training, so I'm a qualified DBT therapist as well, because I wanted to increase my professionalism. I wanted to increase the tools that I could use, and having someone by my side who says, I believe in you and you can do this. Because there were times I was so tired and I just thought, I don't want to do this essay. And it's like, come on, let's go. We start this shit and let's finish it. For me, that was invaluable.
Wow. So you heard it here first, listeners, it's the key, on our journeys is to have, a person or people to support us. When,
And people on our course as well. I have to
yes.
add that. I still in touch with people that I trained with, because only you understand what it's like, to go into placement, to juggle family life, to get these essays done. And so I've been really blessed with, I still meet up with members of, people I trained with, and I get to see them on LinkedIn and doing different things. And I'm really excited for what they're doing. So yeah, all those things I think are very important.
Ollie, navigate us through working in a university.
I love it. I love my job. Working in university, I so I manage the service, so I see some students as well, but I also sort of manage how it's run and sort of personnel and connect with outside charities and organizations in the NHS who help serve our students. Uh, and what's really, really interesting about working in university is it's a short-term counselling model. I think when I was training, I'll turn my nose up if that's a bit strong, but I love long-term work.
Me too.
But I've grown to love short-term work as well
Yeah.
because it allows it to be so focused, and it allows it to be, you have to work in a different way, you have to use different muscles, but also you get to work with people that maybe never go to counseling because of the cost or the length of it. I think the best thing about working in university is the variety of people you end up working with and the stage of life they're in. They're on the cusp of adulthood,
Yeah.
and some of them have had such awful experiences at such a young age. And I have the privilege of supporting them in working through some challenges and seeing them develop their own tools to move forward, to break generational curses, to stop the voices that are telling them they can't do it or they're worthless. When I see the click in their eyes and
Mm.
and hear them repeat things I would say and say, "Oh yeah, I was out and I heard your voice," and starting to talk to themselves as, in that healthy, considered way. It's such an exciting thing. I'm thinking, you're 19 and you're getting this now. This is so exciting because you're going to be able to carry that forward. So yeah.
For the listeners, Ollie, can you break down for them the difference between short-term counseling and long-term
Mhm.
counseling, please?
Yeah. So, short term, so the university does sort of session by session up to 6 sessions. So I've worked with some students and we've had one. They had that one talk and I was like, oh, actually, that's enough. But we do up to 6 sessions. Long term, I guess it would be I would class long term anything over 6 months. Some people would say three. I think 6 months.
Yeah.
Anything above that. So in my training, both my placements, one, I could work with them for as long as I wanted to work with them. The other placement was up to 12 months.
Yeah.
And so you can really go into different things. In short term work, I would never touch deep seated trauma because you have to be able to ethically open it up and close it.
Yes.
It's not fair in successions to open something up
And not close it.
and not close it. It's about caring for the client. So it's being strategic in what are we doing? What can we work with? Yeah, I think working in a short term way, I use the word, we have to be strategic. So we have an assessment, the student says what's going on, what they may want to work with. And then together we agree these are things that we're going to work on, these are things that we can't touch. And the goal of the university service is to support the student to help them get their degree.
Yeah.
And that's the difference when you're working in private practice or in a service that's purely therapy. Um, you work on what you want to work on, but actually there is a specific goal of helping people to get their degree, and that has to be the focus.
Mm.
And so it gives a different angle to it.
If I could kind of go through everything that you've explained and just your journey, research sounds like a very, very passionate thing of yours. How important has that been? And when did you know you had a passion for research, Ollie?
I think it's interesting. So, as I said, I just finished my master's,
Yeah.
and
Congratulations.
as you, thank you. If you had asked me 8 months ago, I would have said I never want to see research again. Um, but I think our field, we have to evidence what we do and why we do it, and and have proof that it works or have proof that it's needed. what I loved about research was I've got data to back up what I'm saying.
Yes.
And so the research that I did a survey, I did a questionnaire, sent it out to a number of male students, and had over 300 responses. After a bit of analysis, I could use sort of 115 of them. And I asked some questions and sort of was able to come up with a look at what are the important factors that affect men at university accessing the university's service, and class and age.
Yeah.
The older the men were, the more open they were to seeking therapy. Now, if I'm at a university, the majority of students are under 25.
Yeah.
Yet the mean age in my data was 29. So the majority of university students, of male university students, may not have a positive view of university mental health services.
Yeah.
So me as a leader in that service, what do I then need to do to cause it to be more attractive? Because there could be people suffering in silence and the data telling me they're not going to reach out. So what then can I do to cause it to be more attractive?
Yeah.
The other thing is class. So I got people to self-identify in their class and then used data analysis method to see where people landed. And the higher their socioeconomic class, the more positive their view of therapy was. So actually, is class considered? Because often I think psychotherapy is a middle class endeavor because you've got to be able to pay for it. Sometimes it can feel like an academic exercise, whereas actually, where are the how um, are we making it accessible to all sorts of people? And so, but now I've got a research paper as evidence and I can prove it and people can test it and, repeat it for themselves.
Yeah.
And when I saw that and saw I've got something that I can use for my service, something just clicked for me. And I thought, I really enjoy this. I really enjoy the results of it. I really enjoy presenting the data and having discussions of how can we use this to better our field. I knew it was something that I wanted to spend more time doing.
Well, you talked to me on, as you mentioned, that the older the men were, the more they were engaging in therapy.
Yeah.
Can you speak to me on that? Why is it that why is it men who are older engaging more in therapy rather than the men who are younger?
So I think there's a number of reasons.
Please.
I think one of the things that we know, the prefrontal cortex, so the part of the brain where all our reasoning is, finishes developing around age 25. So actually, there's something about when that can be engaged, people make different decisions. So when we're younger and we don't have our full faculties, we possibly engage in unhelpful behaviors. Also, we're going through puberty, our hormones are running through our bodies. We're trying to compare to our peers. There's all sorts of reasons, but I think the brain development is one of the big factors.
Yeah.
I think life experience is one of the main factors. As we get older, um, we have more life experiences, we experience death, we experience difficulties, all these things. And because we have a more sophisticated brain function at that point,
Yeah.
we're able to sort of think what's going to help. So I think that's one of the big factors. Um, I think if anything, that's the biggest factor. Because looking at some of the answers and some of the nuanced answers I was getting from older participants compared to younger participants, all the concerns, that's one of the things I think was a key factor.
I'm gonna fire some rapid fun questions at you, just so the audience can get to know you better. You said you trained integratively, right?
Yes.
What is your favorite technique to use?
Psychodynamic.
Tell us why.
I'll say what I've said to most people. It just sung to me. It just made sense.
Mm,
Um, when I think about childhood experiences, when I think about defense mechanisms, the other thing is, I love working with transference. So I'm 6'6", 6'7", and I'm broad. So people have an instant reaction to me. And so I'm able to use that reaction as a way of gaining access to someone's subconscious. Um, so I love psychodynamic techniques and methods. I also love DBT. So I love practical support. DBT is really big on validation and this idea of um, acceptance of this is what's happened to me, this is where I am, and commitment to change. So it brings that behavioral element into it. So we've done all this work, we've done all this searching, we've done all this processing, we've got this insight into ourselves. What's the next step? What are we going to do about it? And I think DBT really brings that in. So I've got two. So those are the two main ones I love to use in my work.
okay. What is your favorite season, Olu?
Summer,
Why summer?
because it's hot, because people are in a good mood. I think my skin glows different. I just love the summer.
Mm. Do you have a favorite quote, Ollie?
I'm just thinking which one. I think one of my favorite quotes, it's one of my favorite quotes, is insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Um, and my second one is you've got to throw your hat in the ring. So when I think about that, I'm definitely not gonna get the job if I don't apply. So I can be rejected, but at least I tried. But it's definitely not gonna happen if I don't make an attempt. So those are my two favorite quotes.
Amazing. Ollie, if you had to pick a remote location to work, where would it be and why?
Oh, now do you mean a country or a type of place?
Anything, anyone.
It would have to be a beachfront.
Okay.
It would be sort of like a condo apartment
Yeah.
that's on the ground,
Yeah.
and a cafe would have to be next to it. So I wanted to be able to see the sea
Yeah.
and see the beach, and sometimes work from my flat, and then move to the cafe, and sometimes work from the cafe. That would be my go-to.
That's a very nice setup. Do you have a favorite book or film, Ollie?
I have a favorite book and a favorite film. So my favorite book is by Raymond E. Feist, and it's called Magician. So I'm a really big fantasy fan, and I that book, the way he built this world, and there's politics in it, and there's magic, and there's all these different things. I was just engrossed by it. And I think my favorite film is Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
That's a very
Love that film. I think it is a story that's told in its culture,
yeah.
and a love story that's so repressed, and you're seeing all these different people interact and the different messaging because of cultural norms that I get to engross myself because it's different from the culture I grew up in. I just love it. Yeah, really beautiful story. It's sad. I think it's a tragic story,
No,
which I
it's
love melancholy. So um,
love that. If you had a superpower, Ollie, what would it be and why?
super strength.
Super
Because I love
strength.
Superman. I
Okay.
just think, and maybe this is about me, but I just, like punch through a door or something. It's just something really like bam, straight to the point. That would be superpower I would choose.
Superman. So I'm assuming you're a DC fan.
Well, super your this is weird, isn't it? But I'll say anyway. And I Superman's my favorite. No, Superman's my second favorite Marvel character. Uh, Doctor Strange is my favorite character. I'm a Marvel fan.
Yep.
I collected comics when I was a teenager. I had all these comics. So, but let's end there because otherwise, all we listen to my nerdiness.
Maybe for off air we can speak. Definitely. Um, last question for you, and I want you to finish this sentence for me.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for therapy, and finish the sentence.
I wouldn't be the man I am today.
Unpack that for us.
I think training as a therapist and going into therapy helped me understand unhelpful patterns that I had created. I think it also helped me understand situations that weren't my fault that I was carrying, and I got to let things go and make different choices. So my friendships have changed, my relationships have changed. I'm in a career that I love. I'm a driven man, and in a I think kind way, but I've become quite a driven man, and therapy changed all that, and I had to take responsibility for myself. I will be forever grateful for it.
Wow, that is so powerful. Accountability, responsibility, taking ownership. I really love that, Ollie. I really do. Guys, you heard it here first. You heard Ollie gave us so much gems, so much information. He shared it, his mind, his process, his heart. I felt much felt your heart in this episode, Ollie. So thank you so much. Ollie,
So
where can people find you? You know, people heard you now, people want to reach out and speak to you. What is the best way to contact you?
best ways on LinkedIn. I'm not really on much social media, but I'm on LinkedIn, so you can find me there. And if you type my name into Google, I'm on Psychology Today and things like that. But I think the best way is LinkedIn. Send me a message. Love to connect to people.
Amazing, amazing. Listeners, I've been your host, Calvin Anderson, for the Checking With podcast. We've had Olumide Ajulo today. Thank you. Good night. God bless.